If it wasn't of the most dire of importance, Trump's latest comments on the election would arguably be funny, as so many of his comments would be if they didn't affect our lives. But here's the thing, he's making clear once again, as he has in past elections, that it's incredibly unlikely that he accepts the results of the election if they go against him. Take a look.
Will you trust the results of the midterms if Republicans lose control of Congress?
I will, if the elections are honest. Look, I want the last one that wants to complain. We just had a great election. I believe there was cheating. I think there was cheating.
Well, speaking of,
he's the last one that wants to complain. Now, allow me to complain. There was cheating in the election that I won. Yeah, no, there was definitely lots of cheating. Yeah, that's the Democrats do it. You know what? They engage in a little bit of cheating, not enough to like have power or control things. They just do it for the love of the game. They don't want to actually be in charge of things, choose Supreme Court justices, pass legislation. They just want to cheat around the edges and then hand the presidency and the White House over to you, because that makes a lot of sense. No, he's saying now what he said every time. I'll accept the results if nobody cheats. Which means if he wins, or actually considering that last video, he won't even accept it if he wins. And I'll remind everyone, I went back, I'm not gonna show you all the clips and everything. In advance of the 2020 election, he was saying this stuff constantly. And what happened when he lost? He tried to overturn the apple cart. He tried to take over the country. He tried to reject the results of the election. He is making clear to you that he's gonna do the exact same thing. And I have an idea of one of the claims that he might make, that the election is unfair. Remember the whole gambit that he had where we're gonna redistrict and we're gonna do a little bit of gerrymandering so we can maintain our hold on power even as our numbers plummet. Yeah, well, that isn't working out so well for him. And the Democrats, of course, have responded in kind, as in California, where I'm at, we've done some redistricting as well. And they were kind of hoping that the Supreme Court would swoop in and save them. And we have to acknowledge the SCOTUS, in this case, not as openly corrupt and partisan as they could be, because they have upheld the California map, which will now go forward, and likely something like 5 Republican seats are just Thanos, thanks to what Donald Trump was pushing for. And that is great news. Now, the right wing is freaking out about that. This is an article that's up right now on The Blaze. Rigged. Supreme Court allows California to use Democrats' anti-Trump congressional map. So you can see there's a little bit of a spin on that headline. It's not just redistricting, which everyone does. It's rigged. It's anti-Trump. And when I saw that, I had this experience. I was like, you know what? The Blaze does articles. I wonder what they said when the Supreme Court ruled on the Texas map. And so I looked it up, and you're gonna notice a bit of a difference between these two. So when it's California, it's rigged. It's an anti-Trump map. Before it was Supreme Court allows Texas redistricting map for midterm elections, liberals dissent. Oh, it's so casual, it's so blasé. And you might think, well, different times, different authors. Nope. Can we bring that back up again? It's the exact same guy who wrote both articles. They are so blatantly tribal and partisan. And here's the thing, I'm not even saying you have to treat both of those cases the same, because they're not actually the same. We allowed the people to vote here in California. In Texas, they just put it into effect. And they did it directly in response to Donald Trump saying, steal me some seats. California did it to balance the scales. I think ours is much more defendable, and yet they're acting as if ours is somehow the more offensive. So why are the Republicans already claiming that the midterms are rigged and the Democrats are gonna cheat, even though the Congress is Republican and the SCOTUS is Republican and the White House is held by a Republican? Well, it's because they're looking at the polling and they know that things are not working out well for them. And they know furthermore that the redistricting that they chose to do might actually backfire and hurt them. You combine those two things, it's not looking good for them, as will be described in this clip by Harry Enton.
Now we're looking at a huge Democratic rebound. In 2024, Kamala Harris won New York by just 13 points. Not a very wide margin at all. But take a look here for New York. Look at that wide, huge advantage. That is doubling the margin that Kamala Harris had back in 2024. They're up by 27 points. This is actually a relatively small margin for Democrats. She won by 20 points out on the West Coast in the big state of California. But take a look at the 2026 House polling. Again, Democrats, a big rebound. This looks a whole heck of a lot more like 2020 than it does like 2024, with Democrats up by 28 points. These are the types of numbers that should really worry Republicans. Okay, Republicans' margins in Texas. Trump won it by 14 points. But look at the generic ballot, the generic House ballot. Now we're talking about a Republican advantage of just 1, 2 points. That was a big influence in terms of what happened in Texas 9. Yeah, they got a good candidate, but it was also the environment has shifted so much to the left, right? This looks a whole heck of a lot like what we saw in 2018 when Republicans barely won that House vote. You put this together with this, and all of a sudden you can see how Democrats can really bring out a lot of seats from the big states.
That is pretty amazing and very well presented. I think they should have like a counter on the side of the screen that's like linked up to his like Apple Watch fitness data for how many calories he burns as he's doing all of his gesticulations. But anyway, that's a big shift in a year. And again, I will remind everyone, they did the redistricting in Texas, but also in other states based on assumptions about voter behavior that were set in 2024, but the map does not look like 2024 anymore, and the populace doesn't think and act like they did in 2024. And I love that this might bite them in the ass. Thank God. Maybe that will be enough to counteract the various efforts that the Republicans are doing to try to rig things, stealing the voter data, meddling in Georgia, like Bannon said, probably having ICE ring polling places and all of that stuff.